After when we have learned about co-location of prepositions, that is with a verb, with an adjective and with a noun, we have seen it. Now, how do the verbal phrases, phrasal verbs, how do they come into existence? Now you see there are certain verbs with certain prepositions, right? Now I call them as a phrasal verb here. Send for. Send is a verb which has a meaning we are sending somebody. We are sending somebody for certain thing, right? But when this send and for, these two are put together, it gives an entirely changed context here, the meaning here. I sent for him means I have sent somebody to locate him. See once again, I sent for him. What does it mean? Is I sent somebody to locate him, to catch hold of that fellow. Send for. Right? And now here, break down. Break is what? To break something into pieces. To make something into pieces is break. The chalk piece has been broken. Right? Chalk piece has been broken. So likewise, the break is to make some glass or something brittle into pieces is called as break. Down, it shows the direction, right? When these two put together, break down, that means that mission went wrong. It is not working for something. And to say that, how we are telling? The mission has broken down. There is a breakdown in the mission. There is a breakdown in the car. There is a breakdown in the bus. The bus broke down. That way we are using break, broke and broken down. Now, it gives an entire different meaning that has to be seen. Only then it is called as phrasal verb. A verb and a preposition, or a verb and an adverb, right? Once again, a verb and a preposition, or a verb and an adverb. If these two put together and if these two contribute to a new meaning, new context, then that combination is called as a phrasal verb. Okay. Now, these phrasal verbs can be separable, means can be made separated. Means here the verb, there the preposition. Here the verb, there the adverb. That is separable phrasal verb. And certain things, they cannot be separated. When I say the car broke down, here we are not separating them. We have put the break and down at the same place. Right? I sent for him. When I said I sent for him, right, then it is not separated. But when it comes to here, put off, he put the light off. That means between the put and off, we have put some object over there once again. Right? Put off. He put his anger off. That is here, this put and off is a preposition, put is a verb. These two got separated and in between we are bringing some object. That is called as a separable phrasal verb. And inseparable, send for him. I have sent for him. Right? Please send for him. Likewise, we are putting it send for at a stretch. Between that, we are not using any other word over there. Those are called as inseparable phrasal verbs. Now here, see off. My father went to station to see his friend off. That way, see and off, it takes something in between. And here also, cut the expenses down. Right? to ensure new economical prospects, he cuts his expenses down. That means cut and down, in between we have brought expenses, some noun, some object we are bringing in between. That is separable phrasal verb. Inseparable, look after, the mother looks after the baby. The baby is not coming in between. The mother looks after the baby. Right? Looks after at a stretch we are using. That is inseparable usage of phrasal verb. And also here, take over. My father has taken over as a manager of the company. My father has taken over as the manager of the company. That means he has took the position of the manager. There we are using take over at a stretch without any gap in between. So now once again, what we learned in this lesson, the small lesson, what we have learned here is, that is phrasal verb. And this has a connectivity with our collocation of preposition. Prepositions can be used with certain verbs that we have seen. Agree with, angry with, right, that we have seen, and honored about, right. That way verb and preposition we are having. So whenever there is a combination of verb and preposition or verb and adverb, that combination is called as a phrasal verb. And there are certain separable and certain inseparable usage of phrasal verb. Usage of phrasal verb is separable usage and inseparable usage. That means when I say cut down, this cut down at a stretch we can use. See off, right? This see off also we can use without putting any object in between. Again, call for, this also without anything we can use. But without anything in between these two, that is the verb and the preposition, or the verb and the adverb. If there is nothing in between, then that is called as inseparable. If something can be put in between, that is called as a separable phrasal verb. Now we have seen in a nutshell some things, we have taken some examples, and there are many other examples over here under Roman 2. Now we are talking about only clause. In our last class, 9th class also, we have come across the combination of words and how to combine together to form a phrase, to form a clause, and to form a sentence. We have seen it. And now, particularly about clause we are studying. Now what is a clause? Clause is a group of words having a separate sense, a complete sense, which has a verb with it. Once again, clause is a group of words having complete sense and a verb within it. This is a clause. And now, clause as per its function can be called as a main clause. Here I have denoted with M and C, main clause, or PC, that is principal clause. And now the other clause is dependent clause or subordinate clause. There are clauses are two types, main clause and or principal clause, dependent clause and or subordinate clause. Likewise, we have separated clauses. Now under this again, that is a dependent clause, it can be termed into three. MC, that is noun clause, ADC, ADJC, that is adjective clause, ADV, adverb clause. Now our emphasis is on this adverb clause. But to go to that, to learn what is that, we should know what is main clause, what is a principal clause, or what is dependent clause, or what is subordinate clause, how NC is different than ADJC and ADVC. That we have to know about a bit. For that, I have written some examples here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we examine this 1, 2, 3, 4, we will come to know what is a main clause and what is a subordinate clause. First, Rama killed Ravana and made Vibhishana the king. We know Vibhishana was the brother of Ravana and he defected Ravana at the last moment and joined with Rama. Right? And now here Rama killed Ravana. This part of this complete sentence, it stands independent and it gives the independent meaning and it doesn't depend on the other part of the sentence. Three characters I am talking about. One is its independency. It stands alone. It gives full meaning, complete sense, right? And it is a part, appears to be a part of the sentence, but without the other part also it gives the meaning, right? These are the three characters for a main clause. And also let us see here, and made Vibhishana the king. Remove this and in place of, let us put this Rama over here. So Rama made Vibhishana the king. That sentence also stands independently. It is not dependent on this part of the sentence, right? And it gives an independent meaning, complete meaning. So here this part also brings or gives every character like this part of the sentence. So now this is also a main clause, we can say. Here it is not a subordinate clause. So now you can see two main clauses have been combined together with conjunction and. Once again, two main clauses have been combined together using conjunction and. There are certain conjunctions, that is and, but, or, yet. 4. But, and, or, why, yet. So these 4, they keep either side of the sentence as main clauses, or these take either side a main clause and thus make the full sentence to be a compound sentence. Once again, what is a compound sentence? Compound sentence is a combination of two sentences in which both should be, both or n number, whatever the sentences we are adding together, all should remain principal clauses or main clauses. And they should compulsorily be, the conjunction should be and, but, or, yet. Then these are called as compound sentences. And in the compound sentence, there may be 1 or 2 or 3 or whatsoever, everything remains as the main clause, right? That is, it is not depending on this or nor this depending on that, right? Now, let us see this. Ravana, who was good at all, was defeated. Who was good at all? All means all the arts. Maybe it is a shield, that is fielding with a sword, maybe archery, or maybe with the mace, right? Or maybe with any other art, or in Vedas, or in bhakti, religious matters. In everywhere he is very good. But he was defeated, right? So now, here you see Ravana. This noun, Ravana, has been described by who was good at all, right? It is describing Ravana. The noun being described by this part of the sentence. Simply remember that much only. But now, when we are talking about main clause and the dependent clause, can this clause, who was good at all, can this stand alone and give a complete sense? Definitely no. It should have some support. That is, what is the support? Ravana was defeated. Ravana was defeated, it is an independent sentence. It doesn't require any other thing. We know it. Ravana was defeated by Rama. Is it not? But here, who was good at all, that describes this subject Ravana. Okay, and this doesn't stand or cannot stand without the help of Ravana was defeated. So it is dependent on this clause Ravana was defeated. So it is called as dependent clause. And every dependent clause is a subordinate clause. Right? Every student is a subordinate to his father, to his parents. You are dependent on your parents. So you are a subordinate or you are a dependent. Likewise, here is the main clause Ravana was defeated, and on that this who was good at all is dependent. So now a bit clarity has come, I feel, that much. Now let us see third one. Ravana was defeated because he was disliked by good and bad alike. You see now, Ravana was defeated because he was disliked by good and bad alike. Alike is samananga. So now Ravana was defeated. Up to this we got a good meaningful sentence, right? It is not dependent on this because he was disliked by good and bad alike. It is not depending on this part of the sentence. But this part of the sentence is dependent on this part of the sentence. This part, that is because he was disliked by good and bad alike, that is definitely has a bearing on this Ravana was defeated. It is depending on that. If that is not there, this sentence, remaining part of the sentence may not stand good. And now the fourth one. The teacher taught, completed. The teacher taught. It gives you a complete sense. But that nobody knows. That nobody knows, right? Here we have a separate verb here, knows. Here we have a taught. In every sentence, if you see, we have verb of its own. Rama killed, made, was, and was here, and here was, and here we have taught, and here we have knows. Likewise, the part of the sentence having the verb, it is called as a clause, I told you, first thing. So now, Rama killed Ravana, it is a clause. Rama made Vibhishana a king, it is a clause. Ravana was defeated, it is a clause. And now, who was good at all, it is a clause because it has a verb. Ravana was defeated, once again it is a clause, because he was disliked by, it is a clause. The teacher taught, it is a clause. That nobody knows, it is a clause. We have separated each and every sentence into their own separate clauses because of the presence of the verb and its meaning. Okay. Now, dependent clause and main clause also we have seen. These two are main clauses here in the first sentence, and from the second to third and fourth we have a dependent clause and a main clause or a principal clause. Here Ravana was defeated, principal clause. Who was good at all is the dependent clause. Second one, Ravana was defeated because he was disliked by good and bad alike. So Ravana was defeated, once again it was the main clause, and because he was disliked by good and bad alike, it is a subordinate clause. Here the teacher taught, main clause, and that nobody knows, subordinate clause. After when we have seen the difference between the main clause and dependent clause or subordinate clause, after when we have known, we have to see what is this class, what is this class, and what is this class. A noun function in a given sentence is it stands as the subject or the object of the sentence. Now let us take it. Rama killed Ravana. Who does the work of killing or who did the work of killing? Obviously Rama. That means doer, that is subject. But what is this one Rama? It is a noun. So noun in a given sentence, it acts, it functions as the subject or object. Here you see, who was killed? Ravana was killed. Whom did Rama kill? Rama killed Ravana. Whom or who? With that we are getting this, and this is the object again, noun again. So a noun stands as an object and subject. Likewise here also you can see, one, Ravana was defeated, main sentence. Who was good at all? This who was good at all is describing something. What is the describing something? It is obviously describing this name Ravana. Means good boy, nice book, beautiful flower. Flower is noun, book is noun, and likewise the boy is noun. These nouns are being described by some word, right? And that word we are calling as adjective. So here this clause is describing here this one, and so that is adjective clause. A clause which describes the noun of the main clause, that clause is called as adjective clause. Could you get it? Even if it is this much? Yeah, okay. Now, here if you see, Ravana was defeated, finished. But what is the reason for the defeat? Because he was disliked by good and bad alike. Why was he defeated? What is the reason? Reason is nobody likes him. Reason being nobody likes. What is the reason for killing, I said? That is the verb over here, that is defeated. The verb defeated is being described by this one, this reason, because he was disliked by good and bad alike. So this is the reason for the work to do, reason for the work completed, right? Whenever we speak about the reason, manner of the work done, right? Place at which the work done, time on which the work done, right? So those are all come under adverb. Once again I'll repeat. Place of work done and manner of work done, reason of work done, and again time of work done, right? These four talk about the adverb. That means they modify the verb. When done, where done, how done, and the reason why done. When, where, how, and why. These will give you the adverb clause. They modify the verb in the sentence. What is the verb in the sentence here? Defeated. And the reason for this is this. So this is adverb clause. Right? Now when we have concluded what is an adverb clause, how many types of adverb clauses are there, that we will come to in our next session. Now the thing is, we left something here, the fourth sentence. The teacher taught what? The teacher taught what? We are getting the answer that nobody knows, right? The teacher taught a lesson. The teacher taught what? A lesson. A lesson is a noun. A lesson is a noun. The teacher taught a poem. Poem is a noun. The teacher taught grammar. Grammar is a noun. The teacher taught letter. That letter is a noun. The teacher taught an essay. That is also a noun. So, when we are questioning what with the verb taught, we are getting something that we are considering as the object of the sentence. Object or subject of the sentence, as I had already been told to you, that it is the noun, right? Now when we are questioning what did the teacher teach? What did the teacher teach? We are getting this as an answer. The teacher taught that nobody knows. ఏదైతే ప్రజలకి తెలియదో, ఏదైతే మాకు తెలియదో, ఏదైతే ఎవళ్ళకి తెలియదో, that is what I have put over here, that nobody knows. That nobody knows is the clause. But what is that clause? It stands as the object of this verb taught, and hence it is the noun clause. So now noun clause we have seen, adjective clause we have seen, adverb clause we have seen, and we will see certain adverb clauses. Adverb clause of, as I told you, of place, of time, of manner, of reason, and of purpose, and conditional clause. These we will see in next session. Now, in continuation of our adverb clause, we have already spoken, we have already learned that adverb clause of time, adverb clause of place, adverb clause of manner, adverb clause of reason, adverb clause of condition. There are few more. Let us learn once again. Time, condition, comparison, manner, result, place, purpose, concession. These are the adverb clauses. And I have given you certain things which are very commonly appeared in our this one question paper. Those I have covered here. That is with when I have started with, as I have started, and here you can see if we have started with, and also where it is there, and thus. These are the indicators to find out the adverb clause. Once again, what are the indicators to find out whether the given clause is an adverb clause or not? The indicators are when, why, how, where, right? And not only that, as, since, because, so. And again here, where, there, here. These are the adverbs to show the place. So those are the indicators. Again, thus, how and thus. These are the indicators. There are many other things. So though, even though, although are also there, right? These are all, and again, unless, right? There are many indicators are there to show your adverb clause. So I have taken certain things here. Now, when it started raining heavily, does it give you a complete sense? Though it has a verb, when it started, this started is a verb here. When it started raining heavily, when we stop over there, do we get a complete sense? No. Do we get a sense? Yes. We get a sense, but not the complete sense, and hence it is a clause. When it started raining heavily, right? It supports the other part of the sentence, right? And if that other part of the sentence is not there, it doesn't have any meaning. What is the other part of the sentence? We see here, the match was put off. The match was put off. Yes, it gives you complete sense, right? And hence that is the main clause or principal clause. And this one, when it started raining heavily, that is a dependent clause. What type of dependent clause is it? It shows about the time. So when we say when it started raining heavily, it indicates a certain time. Only then the match has been stopped, right? So the match was put off. For that, what is the reason? As it is raining heavily. Here the second one, it is the reason, and in the first one, it is the time. You see, the reason, the same thing. As it is raining heavily, the match is stopped. Put off is stopped, right? But here, as it is raining heavily, that part stands as the reason for the putting of the match. Here, when it started raining heavily, it is not the reason for it, but the time. When it is started raining, when it is raining, the match is stopped. That is the time when the match was put off, right? So it is the adverb clause of time. And here it shows the reason, and so it is adverb clause of reason. And now the third one. If it rains, the match will be stopped. If it rains, right? So though it is a reason, but it is a conditional one. If it doesn't rain, there is no stoppage for the match, right? So it is a condition. If it rains, the match will be stopped. The match will be stopped. It is a future action, but dependent on this one condition, if it rains. So it is a conditional adverb clause, right? So next one, the intellect starts. The intellect, whoever can think well, whoever has the knowledge, complete knowledge, and whoever does things rightly, those are called as intellects, right? So the intellect starts where all stop. ఎక్కడైతే అందరూ ఆగిపోతారో, ఎక్కడ means it indicates a place. Where indicates a place, right? We can replace this where with when. The intellect starts when all stop. It indicates time. Why? We have used when. But here we are using where. That means all people have worked up to this extent. From there, intellect start. That is the place where it has stopped. From there, intellect will start, right? So it indicates place. This is adverb clause of place. Now, the train halted with a screeching sound. That means the driver has seen something ahead and he applied all brakes, and the train stopped with a screeching sound. By that, what happened? By that, thus a great accident could be evaded. An accident, a possible accident could able to be evaded because of this action. That is, this is thus we are telling the manner. How the accident was evaded, it says the train halted with a screeching sound. Thus the great accident could be evaded. That is the manner how it has been evaded. So adverb clause of these things we have studied. And adverb clause, how many types could be there, that also we have heard and learnt. What that one is? Adverb clause of time, condition, comparison, manner, result, place, reason, purpose, and concession, right? So that is it all about adverb clause.